by looking to identifying any media on the line. I don't see any media on the line as of yet, but they may join in momentarily. That'll lead us to then any changes or additions or deletions to the agenda. Seeing or hearing none, then I will look to motion. Oh, sorry, Wendy.
Yeah, can we move number 10 in camera to open?
Sure, I'll look to majority of council. Is council okay with moving 10 into open? Is there any opposition? Okay, I'm seeing or hearing none. So we'll move 10 to open.
Mark, what is that about, number 10?
Sorry, I'm just pulling out my other agenda here.
Farmers Association.
Wendy, able to speak to it really fast?
Pardon? Sorry, Mark, you broke up. Are you talking to me?
Just pulling up mine. Yes, sorry, Wendy. I'm just pulling up my in camera. Are you able to speak to 10 farmers association? I heard Michelle.
No, I was just advising it was the Farmers Association.
Questions or comments? Sorry, I'm not sure. I'm breaking up a bit here. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Or comments? Okay. All in favor with the one item moved from in camera to open?
Mark, I just have a question. Why was it in camera? Did somebody specifically ask for it to be there? Or did just council automatically put it there?
Yeah, I think it was just a matter, and I'll look to Tammy just for agenda review team. I think it was just a matter of just putting it there. I don't think there was necessarily a reason. If I can, maybe just check in with Tammy.
I can answer it, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Beck. Okay, council, so I'll look to again moving 10 into the open. I apologize, I'm having some connectivity issues. So we'll look to adopt the agenda as our motion and mover to move the agenda.
I'll move it, Wendy.
Moved by Wendy, seconder.
I will.
Yeah, sure, Libby, or Michelle.
Second by Michelle. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. I'll then look to the next piece on our agenda. We have no delegations or presentations for this morning. So that will lead us into the adoption of the general finance minutes of May 2nd.
I'll move it, Sherilyn.
Okay, thank you,
I'll-
Sherilyn. It's moved by Sherilyn,
I'll second that.
seconder. Second by Carrie. Are there any further questions or comments? Okay, seeing or hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. I'm going to move right into then now the number 5 item on our agenda, which is the Fire and Emergency Services Minor Capital 21-22 reallocation. There's a recommendation on our agenda. We'll open up for discussion.
Question mark.
Sure, go ahead, Wendy.
So I read through the materials, but what is the light rescue truck? This is more than just a vehicle for whoever to drive around. Like what encompasses a light rescue? In the briefing note, it said that no details could be provided because it is quite a large cost, right? So what type of a service vehicle is it? And I know that I think Mike had somebody in his office doing an assessment of all of our vehicles. Do we have a listing of what fire has existing in terms of, I know they've got water rescue, they've got the quads, they've got the sidekicks, they've got just a number of things. I want to make sure that we have, the proper equipment, but just wondering if there is a list of what they currently have.
Sure, thanks, Wendy. I'm going to look to Darren on the line to help assist in answering those questions. I know Teresa was doing that work in Mike's office as well. So just wondering, Darren, if you could speak to the first 2 items.
Yeah, it's not available at this moment, Council, but it's certainly something that is being worked on. I don't know why it hasn't been provided to me yet. We're also doing that in the context of our insurance. That's the main reason why we did that on our fleet, because we cover a number of vehicles. So that's a question I can't answer at this point in time, but I certainly can do the follow-up.
I can do a subsequent. I mean,
Sure, and we also have Mike on the line as well for any further questions. Not sure if others. Sorry, go back over to you, Wendy.
yeah, so for me, that's a key piece of information, right? If we're buying a new vehicle, then we should have a list of what they have existing so that we can share, like, this is the reason why, and the purpose of this new vehicle, and adding to the existing equipment. The other concern, and I think it's back to Darren, is so are the fire stations not in need of repair? I'm just a little surprised that not using that 65 to do those repairs.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Ashley was not included on this meeting because I think he would be able to answer those questions more directly. Anna Cecile, do you have any additional information on this one?
No, it's exactly that information was requested. I don't know. It was not provided.
To be honest, I think these are valid questions being raised, and I don't think in terms of I would have assumed Ashley would have been on this call as well. So just in the case that he isn't, and the questions don't have direct answers, I will look to council to defer this item until we have all the necessary information specifically for this item. Is there any opposition to deferring this item until we could have all the necessary information and questions answered? Looking to see if there's any opposition. Okay, seeing or hearing none then, so council, I will look to work with Darren and Ashley and the administrative team to get all of those pieces of information with this item. So we will bring this item back to general finance. I'm going to move swiftly through as quickly again as we can to the agenda of next number 6 on the agenda, which is May 11th, Building and Infrastructure Committee recommendation. I'll look to the mover and seconder.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Audrey. Hazel. Sorry, not sure if Hazel.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Okay,
I'll
no
read it.
problem. I'll look to you. Thank you.
I'll read it. Moved by myself that the Building and Infrastructure Committee recommends to the Six Nations elected council that whereas the Six Nations Public Works has identified Road 144, third line between Chiefswood Road and Tuscarora Road, and Road 273, Cayuga Road between second and third line as resurfacing priorities for 2022. And whereas the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approved the minor capital allocation for the 22-23 fiscal year, which included a $321,633 allocation to resurface Road 173. And whereas the Six Nations Public Works Department has determined budget estimates is undertaking a public procurement process and is wanting to expedite the approval process so that the project is completed in the proper weather conditions. Therefore, that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council grants the Director of Public Works with the authority to award the roads 144 and 273 resurfacing project to the successful bidder as recommended by the Six Nations Technical Services Technologists at an upset limit of $900,000. Source of funds identified as a combination of 22-23 minor capital funds and deferred 21-22 operations and maintenance top-ups for the roads. I move.
Second.
Thank you, Hazel and Audrey. Are there any further questions or comments? I believe we do have Mike on the line as well for any additional questions. So opening the floor up for questions, comments.
Mark, Swin.
Sorry, I see Wendy, over to you.
Yeah, just the absolute best news for a Monday morning. So thank you first of all. Just a quick question. What type of covering is it? Is it actual paving or is it chip and tar or just, I mean, anything's better than what we have. But the other question is, I sent through a correction just on your second whereas. It references Road 173 and I think it's supposed to be 273.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Mike.
All right, thank you. Yep. So the surface is going to be an asphalt surface on that road, and also it is 173, I believe. Actually, no, 273. Where's 273 here? Yep, that's correct. Sorry, 273 is Cayuga between second and third. That's right. Thanks.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. Is there any further questions or comments? Okay, seeing or hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Motion to waive second reading,
I move that second reading be waived.
I second it.
moved by Hazel and seconded by Audrey, all in favor?
Favor.
Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Moving on to our next item. Looking to recommendation from the Ottawa Trust Fund. This is actually quite small, but I guess just for process wise and resolution wise, transfer to the Economic Development and Compliances Resolution. So looking to background on this item, to whoever can speak to this piece.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. This is a clarification regarding the request from the last meeting that we had. We were requesting to release funds in the amount of around 45,000 for bread and cheese to cover this event. And there were some questions from councilors regarding additional 3,200 that was requested. So this is the presentation of what that's about. So we have the Ottawa Trust. I'm going to share my screen. So the Ottawa Trust has one, it's an amount held by ISC. As per court decision, Lonnie Bonberry was kind enough to let us know that information. The current amount that Canada is holding for us, it's 2.330637. And they don't pay an interest per se, but it's a nominal amount that this year was in the amount of 1.93%. So they calculate the 1.93% over the 2 million, and that's the amount that can be released. In our case, as I mentioned, it was used for bread and cheese. And the source of these funds is the sale and the lease of the land. Mainly is for old sales. Additionally, we have the Economic Development Fund. The Economic Development Fund is held by Six Nations of the Grand River. The current amount as of the end of the year, it's $2,476,174, and it's currently investing. This year, again, due to the economical situation, the interests were not very high, but it's invested and have a return over investment of 1.9626 only for this year. We hope fiscal year 2023 will provide us with a better return of our investment. The source of these amounts, of course, has been accumulated, but lately it's been Hydro One transformers, the rental, and any land rental, and it's built up on current rentals. And the main purpose of that is to buy land. As I mentioned, we have the nominal amount paid by AC, which is basically this 1.93%. And we also have Bell Rental. So Bell Rental, it's an agreement that was signed several years ago for a 20-year agreement. It was agreed as well with Bell that they will do the reevaluation each year. So as of last year, the amount, as of 2 years, 2020, the amount was 2,500, and it was updated for last year. So this year we have the amount of 3,200. This agreement is signed between ISC and Bell, and it was approved by motion. Was already approved by motion for the previous years. So this is, the additional year that we're requesting the release of the funds in order to be able to transfer as approved by motion to the economic fund development. So we're requesting the approval of the release of the funds. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, thanks, Anna Cecile. So questions, comments, hands being raised. I first see Wendy.
Thanks for the explanation, Anna. This doesn't help me to feel better about this fund. Sorry. So my first issue is, why are we not taking that money, the 2.3 million? Why are we allowing ISC to hold that and we go to them asking for little amounts? Shouldn't we just get that money and hold it ourselves? That's one issue. The second issue, so just in terms of the trail, Bell making the deposit to the Ottawa Trust Fund, why wouldn't they make the deposit to us directly? I don't understand the setup of that. And I think in terms of, I mean, we've got bread and cheese and we've got this Ottawa, this Economic Development Fund. It would make more sense to separate those out for one thing, just for tracking purposes. But I still, the 3,200, what's the rationale for 3,200? Just that Bell made that deposit, so we're taking that amount out and putting it to lands. Otherwise, we don't take anything out. I saw an old resolution that said, 22,000 that we took out. So I just don't know what is the formula or the calculation used to decide how much is taken out and put into that Economic Development Fund.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. It is the agreement between Canada and Bell goes beyond the timing that we have all been here. It was signed a long time ago, and it was agreed like that. The reason for the rationale at that moment, I don't have it, but it's valid. It's an agreement signed for 20 years. So I guess we can always review the agreement. I'm not sure what the feasibility is to go back and get it directly to us. I will think it's part of the case, the class action that we're following. But I can certainly review that with lands and membership and with lands and resources to see if it's feasible to bring that into council's ARCs. And the rental, I think it's again, there's a motion approving that all the funds that comes from this agreement goes directly into the Economic Development Fund. It is the amount that they pay for the rental. There's another amount also that paid for the rental. I guess it comes for council only because it needs to be approved by motion when we release the funds from the Ottawa Trust Fund. So it's more, like a lot of things that have been signed by agreement or by motion before our time, but we'll be glad to review it with the team that is in charge of this.
I think just even further to add really quickly is, as mentioned, we could definitely have these conversations with ISC on some of these. I guess more or less it's the process of things and what you're looking at, Wendy, in terms of some of your concerns. The other piece is, I think, in terms of like Anne Cecile had mentioned, the motion that was already signed for the 20-year time frame. But I know we had this discussion, I believe, in our last couple meetings ago, in relation to these fees of these types of companies and what we can look to, I guess, reevaluating and rather reviewing. So Anna Cecile, I think that might be definitely a takeaway specifically on that item, to see what we could further, how we could further address those issues. I know, Wendy, you've brought this item up before, and in fact, I also didn't agree with one of the other companies that we were dealing with in terms of, how much it's costing, or rather we're charging. I think we can definitely do better. Wendy?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Really nothing further. It just doesn't sit well that Bell is negotiating with Canada and having a deal and coming to this agreement. We have no say in that, right? And then we have to ask for the money to bring it back here. Like the whole thing just does.
Yeah,
I don't
the
know if
whole
anybody else
process.
has problems with it, but yeah.
No, I hear you loud and clear, and we can definitely note that piece. And when discussing, I know again we have a meeting scheduled today with Haidu, Minister Haidu, but also can start to work, Christopher, if we could make note on that piece to look at these types of agreements and reviewing further. Anna Cecile, we can also bring you in when we have the minister meeting to start to make these changes, because I do agree. It's really the process and the way that we should be the ones included. As opposed to directly Bell and Canada just on their own. Is there any further questions or comments? Okay, I'm not seeing any
I do,
further.
Mark.
So is there, I know again,
Mark,
oh, sorry,
it's
Melba?
Melba. Yeah, I do. Yeah, is this similar to the Cayuga money that's supposed to come, that we don't seem to have control of it when it comes to the community? Is this very similar, that there's hope that ISC or someone is holding our money? As you know, I've mentioned
Yeah, I
before
would say,
that community members are asking, when is our Cayuga money coming out? So how does that work?
yeah, so I'll definitely, I can speak to it further, but again, I would say yes, it is a similar situation when it comes to the Kigo money in this piece. And we could further follow up directly. Obviously, I know we would usually do the distribution on bread and cheese on the Kigo money fund. So I'm not sure if Anna Cecile has anything further that she'd like to add on that piece.
Yes, we contacted ISC to find out when that money will be distributed, and they mentioned that the $5 distribution takes place on odd years. So it was supposed to be taking place of 2021, but it was canceled during the pandemic. And they will come back in 2023 to honor the treaty distribution. I can follow up with them, asking about if there will be a recovery of those monies that were not distributed during the pandemic year.
So I hope that
Thank you.
answers your question, Melba. Okay,
Yes, thank you.
further question? Is there any further questions or comments in relation to the motion? So I know there's a little bit of work that we have to do in the longer run in terms of process, and so we've made those notes on those items and issues raised by Wendy, but looking to see if there's any further questions or comments in relation to the motion. Okay, seeing or hearing none, then I will look to see if there's a mover and seconder.
I'll move it, Hazel.
Okay, moved by Hazel. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it's Melba.
Second by Melba. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Motion to waive second reading.
I'll move, Hazel.
Moved
Second,
by
Melba.
Hazel. Second by Melba. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. The last item in our open session is the Farmers Association number 10 from our in camera was moved to open, which is the white corn project funding. So I'll look to Anna Cecile, or who will be speaking on this item. So item 10, the white corn project funding, which I believe information is in your Dropbox.
Yes, Mark, Becky received the request, so I don't know, Becky, if you can address it.
Yes, they can. I got a call from Ruby Jacobs. The farmers are ready to plant for the white corn project. They need to plant within the next week or so. So she was calling asking about the funding. They had submitted a 5-year plan and budget as requested by council. The motion is in that package. Last year when they were given funding of $15,000, the council suggested that they submit a 5-year plan so they don't have to come back every year. So when we got the 5-year plan, we had it put aside for budget days when the OFNLP budget was allocated or discussed, but during budget time, we never got to that. So funding was never allocated to them. So now Ruby's called and said the farmers need to start planning like ASAP, and they're looking for funding. So the budget is in the Dropbox.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Becky, for that background. So questions, comments. I know it's a really important project for community on this piece. I know it's always been supported through council and the farmers. So looking to see if there's further questions or comments. Sherry Lynn?
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I guess I have no problem supporting it, but wait 1 second. Can they meet with the environmental people? Because where is this corn going to be planted again? Because I think there might be some concerns regarding where it was planted down 6 line before. So if they can meet with our environmental department to know where this corn will be planted. That's my suggestion. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Sherilyn, for your suggestion. I'm going to continue just going, and I do agree. So we'll look to follow up on that piece. Michelle, Audrey, and then Wendy. Michelle, you have the floor.
Yeah, I have no problem supporting it. And actually, I was just going to say what Sherilyn said, so I'm not going to duplicate.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. So we'll follow up directly on that piece, Michelle and Sherilyn. Audrey.
Yeah, I support the farmers and I support the fact that they do grow corn for the community. And when it comes time, Mark, I would like to make a motion, please.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you, Audrey. Over to you, Wendy.
So just the very same thing, because there were some concerns that came forward about the location, because I don't know, there was some discussion about whether or not the soil was contaminated in that area and if that's where the grow was happening. So just to get confirmation on that, just so that we can, put community at ease that it's fine. I think that would be important to do. And just, so are we accepting the 5-year plan and the budgets with the incremental increase throughout, or is it just accepting the 5-year plan as information? And is there a process that would, is there a process where, we would get that community feedback as well? I think it would be great for the farmers to have too, and the benefit, and just to have that documented.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and actually looking to council on how they would like to proceed, because I know this was again requested of council, to come back as opposed to every year, as mentioned from Becky. So really looking to see if that is that the wishes of council to do and accept and implement the 5-year budget and work plan with the incremental, or another option again. With Wendy's last point in terms of further community update, because I know timing is of an essence to get the white corn started. So looking to see how council would like to proceed with that. I see Audrey has her hand raised.
Yeah, could we just agree to pay them the 15,000 for this year and take time to go through their plan and et cetera after, especially if time is of the essence,
Thank you. Thanks for that, Audrey. Again, looking to full council on how they would like to proceed on this, if it's just for even year one to get them going again for this year. And then obviously we could follow up with those one environmental on the location, excuse me, piece, and then we can look to take the time to thoroughly, excuse me, review the 5-year plan itself, and then also look to community input as mentioned from Wendy. Is there any further questions or comments to that action plan, Wendy?
If the mover would be willing to look at, can we do it in a phased approach? So the 15,000, we approve the funding, but based on that clean assessment on the location. Because I think we can't just give it and then whenever the assessment gets done. So it's contingent upon, having that clarity on the environmental assessment piece. And if that, I think that can happen quite quickly, and then the funds are released. And then the second part of that is that community feedback and evaluation.
Yes,
And then
I think that's fantastic.
Remained of the 5-year.
Looking to see if it's okay with the potential mover, Audrey.
And I guess
sorry,
I'm about
Audrey.
time. If they need it within the next week, can everything be done within a week? Community feedback, I don't think we'll be able to get that in that time.
Sorry, just to clarify, Audrey, which Wendy's suggestion is it's a phased approach. So phase 1 would be, obviously we can meet the time frame based upon the concern on the environmental assessment or location of the planting of the corn. So making sure that gets completed prior to the $15,000 release. So obviously that can, I believe, get done quite quickly, and then they can get their funds to get the project started ASAP. And the second piece would be then really to go and get the community input, so that wouldn't really hold up the funding itself.
Okay, just as long as the funding's not held up in that environmental assessment, as long as that doesn't hold it up too, but it can be expedited in some way.
Yes, we can definitely work with them to expedite that. Further questions or comments, Wendy?
Yeah, no, certainly understand the movement of funding, but it's pretty critical that we have clarity that the soil is good as well, right? Because it doesn't make sense to plant a whole lot of white corn if nobody's going to access it because the soil's not good, or the assumption.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks, Wendy. Helen.
Yeah, I'm not following the concerns raised by somebody, because I never heard any concerns raised about that property regarding contamination. I don't know what would be contaminating it. Is sitting there, right? I'm not clear what that's about, but they planted it last year. Everybody seemed to be okay after eating the corn. I'm sure the farmers, if they thought it was contaminated, they wouldn't use it. I don't understand that part, because I never heard nothing about that particular piece of soil being contaminated. So I don't know what Wendy and Sherilyn's talking about.
Well, I think it's just in relation to conversations and discussions happening at the environmental committee itself. So there was issues raised on that property, and so they wanted just to make sure that there's clarity in making sure that the property is good after there was concerns raised.
What was the concerns raised? Because I don't know what they are.
So I'll look over to Sherry Lynn to further explain. Sherry Lynn, I know Nathan.
Yeah,
Nathan isn't with us. Sorry, Sherry Lynn, if you can quickly
and
address.
Michelle, you can jump in if I miss anything. Yes, this has been going on for a while, and I think it has been brought just to council's attention. And it's just regarding the property and some concerns regarding the soil and maybe getting it tested and stuff around that property and other properties around it. So just to be cautious and just to make sure, that's why I'm requesting it to talk with environment and just for the safeness of it. And if not, where else could they put it? And if so, then okay. Michelle, did you want to add anything?
I think you've summed it up. This has come to council maybe 2 or 3 times already. So I think we're all aware of where we're speaking on 6th line. And
That's not,
there
you're
is,
not planning it with that contaminated. Oh, sorry.
um,
Talking to myself.
okay. And so, yeah, Sherilyn, you summed it up right. And so I would agree that we need to ensure that the soil is not contaminated because water is running everywhere, right? There's wildlife eating the corn, or wildlife in amongst the crops. So if we test it and it's safe, then there should be no issue.
Okay, thanks. I think again, it's just really just from the concerns that have been brought up multiple times. It's really just to have that, as Sherilyn mentioned, being cautious and making sure that that property is good. Obviously, the farmers, would probably share the same concern as well. So I think it's really just adding in that second layer of cautiousness and making sure that it's good to go. Is there any further questions or comments in relation to the motion? So the motion proposed again is that the 15,000 be approved, and obviously, council we've been committed to supporting this project for multiple years, and so that would be contingent upon the environmental assessment of that property, and that we would look to expedite that in the case. Obviously, we know its time is of essence. And then further, that second approach be looked at to community input on the project itself, and then we could continue to review the 5-year plan as presented. And if there's anything further discussed, we can have those discussions then. So phase 1, really, this motion is to approve 15,000 contingent. That'd be contingent on environmental assessment of that proposed property location.
Mark, it's Hazel.
So sorry, Hazel?
Has the farmers been informed about the concerns that were brought forward? What were the concerns? Like, what did somebody know to make them think that it was contaminated?
So I believe they have been aware of this situation. I think it was against with some of the activity in the neighboring properties of this proposed location. And so we could further have those. Any further questions or comments?
It's Melba.
And if
Yeah,
not,
I do.
sorry, go ahead,
It's
Melba.
Yeah, I think it's very important, regardless if there has been, concerns expressed. The environmental committee is in place to attempt to ensure that the health and safety of the community is uppermost important. So I think it's only right. They're looking in various directions with the environment and how it affects us here at Six Nations. So I think it is really important that we look at things like the land, which is upcoming with the planting. So I think it's really important. Yeah, we really wouldn't want somebody to be sick concerning the white corn, because they use it for various things, as we know, not only in our households, but in the longhouse setting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melba. So I think we've had a very thorough discussion on this piece. So I think we're at this point are all agreeing to this piece. So I will look to a motion, a mover and seconder, again to the acceptance of the 15,000 contingent on the environmental assessment. So a mover.
Mark, I think Audrey already
Mark.
moved, I think.
Yes.
Oh,
I
my
already moved it.
apologies. Sorry, Audrey. Moved by Audrey, seconder.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second it, Melba.
Oh, sorry. I'll just go to Melba as the seconder, and I'll go back over to you, Wendy.
Okay, I was gonna second that motion just with, but I think we need to call conflict, just so that it's clean, right?
Well, I think that that's is where the whole conflict piece gets all, I don't want to get lost in a piece. So I'm going to look to whatever counselor feels that they're in conflict, that they declare that themselves. So looking to, we have a
Mark,
mover. and
Mark, I want to
seconder.
have a statement on that. I'm going to be bringing this
Hazel?
issue up. I'm going to be bringing this issue up in full council, in the general council, because this is getting ridiculous, calling for a conflict of interest on a community matter. You know, we can't just nitpick these, whoever's in conflict. Goodness sakes, we won't accomplish anything if we're going to keep calling for conflicts on community matters. All of us need to be a part of community matters. That's why we got elected. That's my save for right now.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that, Hazel, and look forward to the discussion, because for one, it's getting quite tiring myself as well. I think everyone is getting to a point of really understanding this conflict of interest and when it's to be declared. And again, up to the individual and counselor to declare those conflicts in the case that they feel that they are. So
Just
I
as
don't
an
want this to
added note, Mark, as an added note, I want everybody to understand that I am thoroughly sick of that. I feel it's been a stumbling block for me every step of the way as being a counselor.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Melba?
Thanks, and we hear you on that. Sorry, good questions being raised. It's been moved and seconded on the motion. If we could please be specific to relatable to the motion itself, Melba, and then over to Wendy.
Yeah, to the motion itself, I think none of us have a conflict of interest when it comes to community activities relating to the well-being of our community. I'm not going to benefit, for example, directly, financially. So I think I agree with Hazel and others that think in that direction, that we should really discuss the conflict of interest. And if we need a legal opinion, of which we have had an opinion that if it's financially connected to you, if you're going to benefit, then you have a conflict. And I think people would call that a conflict for themselves. So I'm sure we can travel along this route together and have one mind as we come forward. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Melba. Wendy?
Yeah, we could have the legal opinion, and it's the optics as well, and it's a benefit to the person and family. I mean, the information is very clear and easy to revisit, and it's just a matter of financial accounting practices. It's that accountability. It doesn't interfere with community programs or community services, but it's being upfront, transparent, and it's the accountability piece. It's not a challenge to anyone. It's not personal, but it's just clean business practices as an elected governing body. So I think we have to stop taking it personally and just what's best in the due diligence of the process. So that's the place that it comes from, moving forward. And I just think it's, at some point we do have to look at it, and it's a simple process, right? Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. I'm going to draw this conversation to close. We're looking at the motion at large here. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Mark, I'm
Any opposed?
gonna ask for a point of order on this, because I had my hand up and you would not let me respond to Wendy's statement.
I'm not going to entertain the conversation because it's not relatable to the actual motion at large. You've made a statement. It was loud and clear. We need to bring this item back as conflict of interest. It's been approved for 15,000 based upon contingent of an environmental assessment. That's what we're discussing. We're not going back and forth on this matter. So that's
Mark,
why I
why
joined the
do you
conversation.
keep cutting me off and you let Wendy speak anytime, any place, all the time?
Hazel, you made a statement loud and clear.
and I'm going to be making a bigger statement too, because I've had enough of this. I'm not taking this no more.
Okay, well, thank you. The motion has been passed. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Motion to waive second reading.
I'll move, Audrey.
Moved by Audrey, seconder.
I'll second it, Melba.
Second by Malba to waive second reading on the previous motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. So we will work with, again, the farmers to expedite and address the concerns as raised from the Environment Committee and those members, Sherry Lynn and Michelle, so that we can make sure, again, just to have that added layer of cautiousness into where this project will be planted. So we'll look to do those pieces and the follow-up. So do appreciate that. I don't have anything further on the open session. That will then lead us to adjournment and we'll move to our next item of the agendas. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Moved
Sherry
by
Lynn.
Michelle, second by Sherry Lynn. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning at General Finance, and I hope you have a good Monday.